I always tell people, listen, in religion, they tell you you're eternal. That's true, you are eternal. But only the souls of the righteous, those who are righteous, are immortal. That means that, sure, you're going to live forever, but if you're not a great person, you might be recycled, become the toilet seat over there. So you're still here, you're eternal, but you're the toilet seat.
Okay, guys, very special guest today. We got Sarah Adams. Might be one of the craziest stories I've ever heard. So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, we got 5 to 6 really important topics to talk about. I think we'll start from the creation story, right? How this all got started.
Yes, and this is very important specifically for humanity right now. So, okay, a long time ago, we were all energy. We were in nothingness. Mm-hmm. We were everything. And then us being energy, we decided, and we're all one. This is the thing. We decided that we were going to create these playgrounds. We were going to create creation. So we're all God. And what we decided to do is to then manifest into spirit. So then we manifested into spirits. That's where you get the angels, the fairies, different spirits. As we manifested into spirits, we then kept manifesting. We manifested and manifested until we got to the first physical creation that was created. So we came down levels. Think about that, from energy to spirit to physical form. Mm. And the first creation was created. This creation was, think about a potter. When you first become a potter, how you create your first piece of clay, right? It's not going to be perfect because it's your first piece. Well, that was the first material 3D physical creation that the spirits created. They created bodies to go into. What happened is that the spirits, when they went into the bodies, they were not able to keep the connection to what you would say is God, which is this divine force. And in the material body, they got lost. And that divided off from God's source and from the spirits that were in the spirit realm. What happened is that that creation collapsed on itself. And guess what? When that collapsed on itself, it fell into frequencies that had not been experienced before. That's where you have the creation of hell, the underworld in Egyptian mythology. And in different cultures, they call, hell, the underworld, different names. It's all the same thing. What happened is the spirits that were incarnated into those bodies, because they got stuck in those bodies, they didn't know how to basically reconnect to the realm of the spirits and to God consciousness, Christ consciousness. They mutated. They became very starved and hungry, and that's where you have demons, Watiko, archons. There's different names, jinn, for these beings. That was the first creation, physical, material creation, 3D creation, that collapsed. What happened is that the spirits, the light spirits, said, we have a problem. We need to go ahead and contain this issue, because these beings, they're in these bodies collapsed, they mutated, and they became very vampiric. And they are now a danger to other creation and us. So what they did is they quarantined that creation, which again is called hell or the underworld. That's how hell was first created.
Wow.
So then what happened is that the light spirit said, okay, listen, we're going to create again. We're going to create this 3D. Hey, we didn't do it right the first time. We're going to do another creation, create another creation. And basically, with the other one quarantined, we can go and fix that one at some point when we when we figure out how the 3D works. Think about the 3D physical matter. You're so used to being in spirit that 3D physical matter is a whole different game. So they were like, okay, we're going to fix that eventually. So then they created other creations they went into. Problem is that creation that had been quarantined, it basically seeped out and it consumed a couple of creations, getting bigger and bigger. That's where we have also the myths of the Titans. And then you have Leviathan, which I have encountered. I've also encountered the Lovecraft, I guess you could put Lovecraft beings. The one, he's an octopus. He's larger than Earth. They're in other realms contained. So basically, we get to the creation of Mars and Venus. Okay, so then the spirits are like, okay, they created this creation where Mars was inhabited.
The Tri-Light from Therisage is no joke. Medical grade red and near infrared light with 3 frequencies per light, deep healing, real results, and totally portable. It's legit. Photo biomodulation tech in a flexible on-body panel. This is the Tri-Light from Therisage, and it's next level red light therapy. It's got 118 high-powered polychromatic lights, each delivering 3 healing frequencies, red and near infrared from 580 to 980 nanometers. Optimal penetration, enhanced energy, skin rejuvenation, pain relief, better performance, quicker recovery, and so much more. Therisage has been leading the game for over 25 years, and this panel is FDA listed and USB powered. Ultra soft and flexible and ultra portable. On-body red light therapy I use daily, and I take it everywhere I travel. This is the Thera O3 ozone module from Therisage. It's a portable ozone and negative ion therapy in one. It boosts oxygen, clears and sanitizes the air, and even helps your mood. It's a total game changer at home or on the go. This little device is the Thera O3 ozone module by Therisage, and it's one of my favorite wellness tools. In the sauna, it boosts ozone absorption through your skin up to 10 times. Oxygenating your blood and supporting deep detox. Outside the sauna, it purifies the air, killing germs, bacteria, viruses, and mold, and it improves mood and sleep with negative ion therapy. It's compact, rechargeable, and perfect for travel, planes, offices, hotel rooms, you name it. It's like carrying clean energy wherever you go. This is a Thera H2 Go from Therisage, the only bottle with molecular hydrogen structured water and red light in one. It hydrates, energizes, and detoxes water upgraded. The Thera H2 Go from Therisage isn't just a water bottle. It's next level hydration. It infuses your water with molecular hydrogen, one of the most powerful antioxidants out there. That means less oxidative stress, more energy, and faster recovery. But here's what makes it stand out. It's the only bottle that also structures your water and adds red light to supercharge it. It's sleek, portable, and honestly, I don't go anywhere without it.
Venus was inhabited. So Mars had specific creation on it. Venus had things like strawberries, roses. Neptune had it had whales and dolphins and all these beautiful aquatic beings. That's where the aquatic beings on our planet come from. So each planet had a specific creation according to it. Mm-hmm. And Saturn creates time and reality, the rings around Saturn. And so what you would call Atlantis, Lemuria, there are other names for it again, was the span of planets that were inhabited. They were flourishing. They were not what you see today. They were tropical. We traveled among the planets. The elemental spirits of water, earth, fire, they all listened to us. They listened to us because we had the 5th element that was that of love. Mm. They listened to us because of this. But remember, there was that ancient force that had been locked away, and it was growing and growing and growing. Well, the king of Atlantis, from what I remember, and some of the other masters, and by the way, back then we didn't have elite leaders that were elected because of, their families or because of money or status. Our leaders on planets were who were the most conscious. Mm. And who were the most conscious? Guess what? The very planet would listen to, because each planet that you see as a physical planet, 3D planet, is actually a spirit, an ancient spirit, an orb of light.
Wow. So it's a living thing,
yes,
you're saying,
our
a
planets
planet.
are living. And these spirits listened to the leader who was the most advanced consciousness. There were no storms. There were people and beings who lived for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. You hear about these myths in the Bible. You hear about these myths all across the world. What creates physical matter is condensed energy. That's how these planets are formed. Mm. Spirit beings, they literally have the ability to tell energy to condense, and that creates a planet or a sphere of energy, an ancient spirit. Mm. So each planet had a leader. Again, that leader being elected because of its advanced consciousness. And all the spirits, and everything is spirit. The forest is spirit, the sky is spirit. Even on this planet, everything is spirit, would listen to these leaders. So these leaders decided that, because they were aware of the first creation that collapsed, that they needed to go ahead and fix that first creation. They're like, we have our ancient kin in that creation. They're lost, and we need to go ahead and we need to help them. So what happened, and by the way, Earth was Noah's Ark. Earth was the newest planet. And the sun comes from Saturn. And I'll tell you, so Saturn used to have this ball of light within this sphere of light within itself. And the sun's light was the sphere of light that was inside of Saturn originally. So anyhow, again, they created Earth. Earth was like the USB backdrop, what you would say, hard drive. Like, you put your USB with your little key in to like back up everything. Earth was that. So each planet gave creation to Earth. So Neptune gave the dolphins, and because it was the aquatic life, and then Venus and so on, till we had Earth. And even with Earth, they gave a part of the essence of each planet. That's why if you go to places like Sedona, the Earth is red because that's from Mars.
Really?
Yes.
I was just there. Wow.
So it was not a planet to be meant to live on. It was just like a backup planet to save all the creation, information, knowledge, and DNA. Okay, so then what happened is the leaders were like, listen, we need to go ahead and we need to connect back to this fallen creation and heal it. So I remember living on Mars. I remember traveling. I was on Venus for a while. I remember traveling the planets. I was sent here specifically for this. I go in and out of my body. So I was sent here literally for this, to help shift the timeline because of where we're headed. The leaders decided that they were going to open a portal to this ancient creation and channel light back through it to heal it, because when something is distorted, it needs light to heal or energy to heal. I have an abilities. I advised against it because I saw that something was going to happen, and that we did not have the ability at that point to be able to deal with that creation. Regardless, they opened the portal. That force came through. It, within a matter of, you would say, 1 day Earth's time, it infected everyone, sort of possession. It caused them to war among each other, and it started to infect each planet. And it even started to eat each planet, the core energy of each planet. So the planets started to die. The planets, being spirits, all connected among each other, realized that to save 3D creation in this universe, they needed to do something, do it quickly. Saturn threw his light across space, and what happened is that pushed back this force, and that also gave enough light to ward it away from Earth. They put a shield around planet Earth, and whatever beings that remained not being eaten or swallowed by that force resorted to incarnate and in bodies on this planet.
Wow.
Others went to the higher realms to evacuate until a solution could be made. Saturn controlling time and reality. Yes, Saturn controls time and reality. What you hear about Satan in the Bible is actually Saturn. The reason that there's these, quote, rituals to Saturnic rituals, I don't know if you've heard of them, is because when this force has infected specific beings on this planet, people on this planet, and it knows how to do high magic. So it uses them to send dark energy to Saturn. And what that does is Saturn reflects it on us, keeping us in a lower timeline where there's a lot of suffering and destruction. What we need to do for Saturn to release it and to release the time lock is to all channel rainbow light to it. Then it'll reflect back to us. Each planet is connected to each of our chakra systems. In fact, the Anunnaki, Anu meaning ring, key to the rings are the chakra system. When we unlock the planets, in ancient times, we would speak to each sphere, planet, ancient spirit, and that would light us up. We don't do that anymore. So basically, the Anunnaki, that's where the myth of the Anunnaki, they were the first creator beings that came down that had the keys to this chakra system, that very chakra system that will unlock humanity, but also keeps them locked in. But to go back, there was a force field put around Earth. This force came and it annihilated this ancient civilization. It made them war among each other, infected them, and ate a lot of the energy of each planet, caused mass devastation. A shield was put around this planet. In fact, there was a portal going directly from the Arctic. And that's why in the Arctic, by the way, they're finding, okay, so this force, everything comes from it. Disease, things like cancer.
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you.
Everything you can imagine. Parasites, worms on our planet too, believe it or not, like the cockroaches, things like that. Pestilence comes from it. That's how it manifests. So it was coming through this portal on the planet and they froze. They froze and that created the Arctic, by the way. They froze that portal shut. And that's why when they're drilling in the Arctic right now, they're finding these parasites that are literally billions of years old. That's that. When that force manifests into physical, it actually manifests as parasitic. And this goes back to the whole story of, I was talking to you about the quote, fall of man, right?
Yeah.
Of when it came through. So for a while, Earth was protected. And because we had this ancient shield around it, and scientists have proven there's some sort of force field around Earth that's protecting it. They don't know where it came from. This is where it came from. It was able to come through to the creation and it manifested on Earth. It manifested, it basically also was able to come through to the people on this planet. And what it did is it manifested itself as parasites within the system and as a parasitic consciousness. And what's really interesting is I do a lot of work on detoxing and I have helped people around the world heal. And we've got like 20 feet parasites that come out of them. This is very interesting because again, the fall of man, it says it was due to a snake. The original translation is a worm, parasite that was around the tree. And I was explaining a while ago, the tree is the spine. The gut system is the bottom of the tree. And that's where the parasites infect you. And then they tie you into the underworld. So we have a cord that goes from our spine into the earth because also each planet being a sphere of light, being an ancient spirit, nurtures the beings on it. We have a problem today because everyone's disconnected. So they're disconnected from life force of the planet and their energy vampires a lot of people because that's why we have all of the terrible things happening on this planet, whether it's abuse of children, it's abuse of in families, wars, things like that is because of this. We're disconnected from God's source on this planet and we're disconnected and Earth is part of God's source. But to go back, the fall of humanity happened whenever this force, it actually was able to infiltrate their chakra system, the lower chakra system, and affect the kundalini, keep the kundalini from rising. Because when your kundalini rises, you wake up. That's why the serpent was depicted as evil because they don't want you to know that. They want to hide the knowledge of that. So you had the Egyptians who had the snake that comes through the third eye. What that represented is the cord that goes down to the earth, the energy coming up, coming through their spine, charging each chakra system, charging each organ, then coming up and light in the right and left hemisphere of the brain. So that it was, when you have the left and right hemisphere of the brain, you actually tap into God consciousness. Your chakra system is in God consciousness. Parasitic beings, what they do is they come in, manifest as the 3D parasites in your system, and they start to absorb that energy before it even charges your organs and before it even reaches you into God consciousness.
Wow. And you said 95% of people have parasites,
According to the CDC, 95% of people have parasites. They're proving that cancer, every autoimmune disease, even things like mental health issues, people being suicidal, are all coming from parasites within the system. That big pharma does not want us to know exist. In fact, there's a lot to this, so I'm trying to navigate through it. So the fall happened on this planet. So, but the thing is that then we were like sent in. I left, we were sent in to, we looked at, so we time traveled. So because I jump into different bodies, but we have more than one body. And I have this divine assignment, and the divine assignment was to get humanity to understand how to heal their planet and save their planet before it goes to the same destruction as Mars and as the rest of the planets. There's a lot to unpack here. So I'm trying to unfold this in a way that people can actually follow along and understand. So we have this force right now. It's infiltrated our elite leaders. This force likes when you're in pain. The more suffering there is on the planet, it loves war, it creates war. Because when a person stresses out, they actually bleed energy, and that's what this force feeds on. So it's using humanity as cattle right now.
Wow.
That's why it's creating, it plays a checkerboard game, a chessboard game. It plays both sides. And it's playing nations against nations. It's infecting elite leaders because they have no shielding. They have no consciousness to keep it out. They're not aware of its presence. If they are, they're often in league with it. So we have that problem. It's infiltrated our systems. It's infiltrated, it creates toxins. It's the one that actually, toxins are black magic. A toxin is a dense energy. When we eat chemicals, when we absorb these toxins into our body, that lowers our energy. When it lowers our energy, it ties us directly into hell or the underworld. So a lot of people on this planet are actually tied into hell and the underworld.
Wow.
And then that allows this force to feed on them. That's the problem we have. And guess what? It's also feeding off the planet because originally we did not have any deserts at all. Deserts are where this consciousness is actually tied into the planet and feeding off of it.
Really?
It's
so
harvested.
Vegas.
Yes. Here. That's why I don't ever usually stay in the desert.
A lot of spiritual people hate Vegas.
Yeah, because it's tied to the Vega star system. And what it does is this force attracts all these people here through lust and all of their quote, sin karma, and it feeds off of them. That's what
Gambling,
it does.
alcohol.
Yes, addiction.
Wow. Yeah. And porn too.
Yeah, addiction. Take out the R, you got pawn. You're a pawn. Yeah, they love feeding. Remember, they tie in first to the lower chakra system. The root chakra,
they got a lot
the
of
sacral
ways
chakra.
to attack people, right?
Yeah, very much. Because people have not elevated their consciousness. And then these beings also use the money system. And they use a lot of systems on our planet to keep people unconscious. And it's a force. And again, this force, it's these what you would call the demons, the archons, they're all part of this force. The Watiko, there's different names, like I said, Jinn are all part of this force. It's harvesting the planet right now. That's the big problem. That's what the ETs told me. So then it created pollution. Do you know why it created pollution? Because our planet spins in a divine symphony. That way it's connected to the higher realms to protect all life on this planet. However, what it did is it came through, infected certain people and used them to create chemicals and pollution. Also created the atomic bomb, nuclear. It loves that. It used it on Mars. Nuclear was something that they had, but they didn't use it for wars. They actually used it for specific things. It made them use it for a war on Mars, and it's trying to do that again right now.
Is that how Mars was wiped out? Was it through nuclear?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because there's a lot of craters on Mars that look like bombs went off.
Yes. And they started attacking this planet, and that's why you have the moon. And the moon took a lot of the hits because of it started using all the technologies on those planets to attack this planet. But that's where the shield protected it. And there are some hits on this planet of where it did come through.
Wow. So the moon's a shield.
The moon was, she's an ancient spirit that shields.
Who put her there? Was it
She came from Venus.
Venus?
Venus gave her.
Wow.
She's the light of Venus. Venus is connected to the heart chakra. So if we all channel light into Venus, that will reflect and light up everyone's heart chakra. So in ancient times, we would speak to each of the spirits. We would gather and we would all channel light to, say, Venus or even Earth or Mars, whatever planet we were on. And guess what? That would reflect back and light up our chakra system and release us out of release us out of being in the matrix imprisoned. That would keep us in the higher realms. That would keep everything flourishing. People healthy, happy, beings healthy, happy, progressing, traveling among the stars.
Yeah.
We've lost all of that.
Wow. So who's winning this battle right now if you had to pick a side in the lead?
There's always the divine path that's set up. So this is what the ETs told me going back to pollution. So this force created these chemicals and which are dense energies, which are polluting the planet. So this is what they told me. They said, look at the word pollution, pole and ion. So ion means energy. We're having a polar shift. It's called polar shift, right? If I remember right, polar shift, because the energy is spinning the opposite way of the divine order. So they said, you need to tell humanity that they need to gather together and they need to visualize spinning the energy in the right order. And they need to chant. And they need to go ahead and visualize rainbow light pouring into the oceans because the ocean she's an ancient spirit and she's upset. She told me, she's like, I am really upset that humanity has polluted me and allowing the negative entities and the lower consciousness to access me. She said, I'm going to start creating storms. The very earth said, if humans do not wake up, she's going to create a lot of death and chaos.
Wow. Is that how hurricanes are formed?
Yes, a lot more. There will be a lot more storms. She said that she will if they do not connect back to the divine, if they do not start to work on healing her, she will have to cleanse them off of her.
Wow.
And that's what you're seeing happen right now, that there's a lot of destruction in the world.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of hauntings around those.
She's also fighting that force. So she's fighting that force. She's trying to shake and move and get it off of her, get it out of her. She's trying to detox of it.
There's theories that there's some gates down there too to hell.
Yeah, I know about the gates to hell.
Yeah.
I actually, it's really interesting because I know Lester Crowley. He appeared to me one day years ago. And as a ghost, I didn't even know who he was. I actually woke up in the morning. It was in the middle of the night. It was like, oh, well, Lester Crowley's just like right here. And I sat up and I said, I don't have time for this because I was running a jewelry business back then. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I get ghosts and stuff that talk to me all the time. I'm very like interdimensional, multidimensional. I said, who are you? And he said, oh, I'm Lester Crowley. And he said, you need to close these portals that I did because he was shackled in chains. I said, okay, you're shackled in chains. He's like, yeah, I am in here and in hell being tormented until I can go ahead and be released. And this is my sentence, is for opening these portals. So I wake up in the morning and I tell my boyfriend at the time, I'm like, there was this Lester Crowley, that last night that told me that I needed to close these portals. He's like, Lester Crowley, you realize who that is? No, I don't know. And I grew up very sheltered. I was like, I don't know. Then he showed me who Lester Crowley is. So yeah, Lester Crowley was had told me. So I'd go around and I actually close portals. That's one of my pastimes, other than locking away negative entities or helping them. They can change and shift. We have a lot of problem too with there's a lot of karma on the planet. And I recently had my death experience because of this. The karma on the planet is really bad right now. It's created like a very dark, dense energy around the planet. So people don't realize that every action they do, it's going to have a repercussion.
Right.
Even what's unseen. That's the thing. In ancient times, we knew this.
Mm-hmm.
Current society knows nothing of this. It's a very I, myself, me, my sort of attitude out there, which is a problem. Because if you have that, well, you're not going to survive. You're not going to heal the planet.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to annihilate yourself. Listen, beings I walk many realms and universes. This is not the only. On the other side of the sun, there's a whole other universe. This universe is quarantined. I can tell you, if humanity does not evolve, there will be a lot of destruction, death, and I'm here trying to prevent this. This isn't no airy-fairy new age stuff. This isn't any of that. This is literally something that is happening right now. And a being, if it does not serve its a purpose to help, it's not evolving. If it's only serving a me, myself, I path, at some point, it's going to be recycled. You see this table? This could have been a being that, sure, I always tell people that this could have been a being that just decided when it had a body that it was not useful. So it's more useful as the table. I always tell everyone, sure, in religion, by the way, look at the word religion, rely on jinn.
Wow.
I always tell people, listen, in religion, they tell you you're eternal. That's true. You are eternal. But only the souls of the righteous, those who are righteous, are immortal. That means that, sure, you're going to live forever, but if you're not a great person, you might be recycled, become the toilet seat over there. So you're still here, you're eternal, but you're the toilet seat. Because I've seen people who were doing a lot of negativity, and that I was told that in, next lifetimes they would be like basically a rat or
wow. I always wondered, like, people in the past, like Hitler, or people that killed a lot of people, like what happens to them,
Hitler was Nero.
Nero,
that burned half of Rome. He was
really?
It's the same being.
Whoa.
I have something very controversial I can tell you about that.
Yeah, please.
It's about Trump. Trump is literally the Antichrist.
No way.
Yes, and he was Nero and he was Hitler. And that's what the ET showed me.
What?
So if you look at the Bible, it's really interesting. It says, by the way, the Bible ends with chapter 22. And it says the return of the Garden of Eden. I just told you the Garden of Eden was within each of us, because that's where the tree of life is. We have to get out the parasites. We have to purify the body, the pollution, elevate ourselves, and light up our kundalini. And guess what? We access God consciousness. That's where we return to the Garden of Eden. That's what the last chapter of Revelations in the Bible talks about. Right before there, it talks about the abomination of desolation will sit in a holy place. Obama sat in the nation in a holy place. the White House, because the White House was actually, it was created by an architect that created after a temple. He based it off of a temple. So it's why it's considered the White House a temple. It looks like a temple.
Wow.
And then it says the trumpets shall sound around the world. Trump Pence was on every TV. And then it said he will be wounded in the head and come back. And he was wounded. He's literally, from what the ET showed me, he is literally that being.
Holy
And
crap.
he's a test for humanity. If they choose unity, if they choose to channel, and now the rainbow light is a whole code, because you know about the Native Americans and the whole rainbow light. I'm going to tell you that whole thing next. But basically, he's a test. He was narrow. And guess what? He is one of the heads of that force that destroyed Mars.
Really?
Yes.
That is crazy.
He's literally one of the heads of that force. And guess what? He's also depicted in Back to the Future as Biff. Remember, he becomes president, and he's depicted in Back to the Future. And in The Fifth Element, we have Elon, by the way. He's depicted as this guy who has these robots that work for him. And in The Fifth Element, they're trying to reascend into love, to use it to transmute that dark force so the earth isn't destroyed by it.
Wow.
And so movies, there's, like I said, so much impact here. Movies, the radio, everything. So when a person, you think people are just writing fiction over there, right? Okay, first of all, when a person writes, the energy is going into their brain and transmute it into thought. What's happening basically is they're channeling, because in energy, there's all truth. So in a way, they're channeling. So when you see fiction movies in the Bible, it literally says the devil has to tell you the truth. The devil, it means those who are vile, a group who are vile, they have to tell you the truth. So it's coming through us on the radio, on TV, and TV series, movies. It's telling us, why do you think we have so many movies of The Walking Dead? Because so many are disconnected from the divine out there. And that's just, the system is telling us there are many people, many zombies out there that need to reconnect. The system is telling us every single day, every single moment, these divine messages that are everywhere.
That makes a lot of sense, because a lot of these movies that were from 50 years ago are coming true now, like Terminator, Matrix, 20 years ago, Star Trek, Star Wars.
And Terminator is actually Elon.
Really?
Yeah, he's the Terminator.
He's Neo, or who is he in that movie?
No, he is actually the Terminator. I posted a picture on my Facebook. I have to send it to you, and it was Elon, and it was Schwarzenegger, and they were dressed the same cut and everything. He's the Terminator. So guess what? That dark force also uses AI technology. We have divine technology within us. Our cells are battery cells. And when they're healthy, they propulse us into the higher dimensions, that we become multidimensional. It lights up the God gene because there's enough energy coming through us. So they have made our cells toxic with pollutions, which they're now prison cells. People are imprisoned in their bodies all around the world. So they created a world of prisoners, of sheep, people who are not charged with enough energy, because God is energy. So if you're charged with enough God source, you're not going to put up with what's happening on the planet. You're going to take action. So they needed to create a whole bunch of cattle out there that are scared, toxic, unhealthy, unwell, because they won't do anything about it. That's what this force is doing. It's infiltrated. So what it does is it uses our elite leaders. It uses everything.
This is mind-blowing. A lot of people will listen to this and not believe it, but I could see it. I could see it.
That's literally fine.
I mean, it does feel like something sinister is going on.
It is, very much.
Like, I get this weird sense, you know? The parasite stuff is just the start. That's crazy, though.
And I can tell you this, that guess who holds the power, though? It's not, us who've been sent to the planet, we're not important here. The message is important, because that means that God loves humanity so much. It's reaching from the other side. And it's reaching out to humanity saying, you have free will. You can choose me, and you can choose to be empowered, or you can choose to allow your planet to be destroyed. So I want to bring you back to the story of Joseph, who had a coat of many colors in the Bible. Thus he walked and talked with God. That coat of many colors is the aura. Most people are born with 1 to 3 colors in their aura. People who are depressed, sad, and sick have gray, red in their aura, icky yellow. But we have the ability, again, to manipulate. Manipulate is the wrong word. To channel energy, to tell energy what to do. And it listens to us because we have that creator spark within us. Basically, people are born with these 1 to 3 colors, and that's why there's a lot of disconnected people out there. We need to bring in the other colors to create the rainbow aura. The reason that Joseph walked and talked with God is because he had all the colors in his aura. So a lot of, let's say you're unhappy and depressed, you're missing orange or yellow out of your aura, and you could just visualize every day, put in orange and yellow in your aura, and that will shift you.
Wow, it could change that fast?
Yeah, within 7 days, you will see a major change.
Wow.
If you visualize, even each organ works on energy. Our entire system works off of energy. Our cells need energy. In ancient times, we actually went out into nature and we would collect energy and bring it into ourselves via these ancient practices that we did. So we're not doing that anymore. That's why we have a huge problem. That's why we also on this planet have an unawareness, because an uncharged person is a very low frequency person, which is going to be an addict and all sorts. It's going to be a person who just is a leech in society, basically. So we need to start bringing in the energy. So we bring in the rainbow light. That's going to light up the rainbow aura. And there's the great Native American prophecy about the rainbow aura. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh.
It says when the earth, it's basically when it's the end of the world, that this rainbow tribe will come back. This rainbow tribe will help heal the earth. So the rainbow aura is very, very important, because what it does is each color is a high frequency of the divine, and it taps us into the higher realms. Just like the parasites tap us into the lower realms, the rainbow aura taps us into God consciousness, along with the Kundalini. These are different facets of things that our system is built on. I would say humanity right now are like a little child in a McLaren. Like, they don't know how this system works. And since they don't know how it works, they're lost in it. And they're like, oh my God, it's like, it's a prison. No, it was created originally so that we would all have these beautiful experiences. It wasn't created for us to suffer.
Yeah.
God loves us so much that God created all of this for us to experience. And look what we've done. And then we will allow the dark forces to come and take over. That's an us problem. God's never left humanity. God's been here all along knocking and saying, listen, but you have free will. And what would a loving father do, or mother? It would never force its child to do something. Free will.
Yeah.
So we have the free will to heal our planet. So when we bring in the rainbow light, it's all about channeling light. We channel rainbow light into the oceans. It'll heal the ocean. Because she's depleted of energy. We channel rainbow light into each other, into ourselves every single day. That's going to elevate our frequency. It's something very simple, but it's something that's going to elevate our frequency, and it's going to shift our reality, shift our timelines, and shift our planet. Because right now the earth is in the underworld timeline, and she is trying to shake loose from that and get away. We need to work in unity with her and who is a great spirit, and all the great spirits, including the ocean, who is a great spirit. She tells me she's like a battered woman. We need humanity to work with the great spirits. And when they elevate the planet, it's going to save them. Because like I said, I had my death experience. I was shown a timeline where there was nuclear wars, where that force did take over. And you know what the spirit said to tell humanity? And tell the leaders around the planet that are stubborn, that are selfish, that don't care about all of the people out there. It said, you do this and you're going to be floating in an abyss eternally. And that's a terrible place to be.
Wow. Is that purgatory, or what is that? Yeah,
it's not even purgatory. It's worse than that. And I had an experience where recently I did a lot to transmute the planet's karma, because she's very upset. And I went there.
Jeez.
It was a very terrible place to go.
So no sense of time. You're just stuck.
There's no time. You are floating alone. And if you think anything, it literally 1,000 times like echoes back to you.
Oh my gosh.
You feel no love or nothing. You're just floating there.
Jeez.
It's the deepest part of hell.
Wow.
And I was told this when I was given this message around last Christmas, my heart, I stopped breathing. I have heart damage that I've had to heal from it. I stopped breathing. I was filming a documentary with a celebrity family, and it went wrong. Well, it didn't go wrong in a way. It didn't go wrong. What happened is beforehand, you know about the hurricane in Asheville.
Yeah. So
beforehand, the spirits, I was going to travel Asheville, and they said they were upset because they said that with the energies there because they said it wasn't being held sacred and that they were going to cleanse it. So they used the hurricane to do that. There was another hurricane that was coming in right after. I don't know if you remember that. It was going to be one of the worst hurricanes in history.
Yeah.
I lived in West Palm Beach for quite a while, and I was in Maryland at the time. And I was talking to the spirits because they listen, they love me, and I love them. So I said to them, please don't do this. And there was so many people on the bridges, and my friends were messaging me. They were like, listen, we're caught here and we don't know what to do. And can you do something to help us? And I remember for hours and hours, I was asking the spirits to just forgive humanity. And they were really angry at humanity. They're like, humanity is harming us, polluting us, causing all of this damage to us, all of this hurt to us. And we need to shake free of this. And I remember for hours, and then they were saying it was going to cause a lot of death and it was going to be one of the worst hurricanes. It was getting near and near and near. And I literally fell on my knees and said, okay, let me take on some of that karma to help humanity. So that I made a nice deal, you might say. So then what I did is I told my friends about it. We traveled to this place and the hurricane was fine. It didn't really cause anything.
Wow. That's crazy.
So I traveled this place and I took some shrooms.
Yeah.
And I opened myself up to absorbing that energy. What happened is I did. And demons surrounded me and I was put into the abyss. Meanwhile, my physical body at one point stopped breathing, which I got heart and brain damage from that. I should be in rehab for a year right now.
Jeez.
Shouldn't be able to talk to you right now. My business manager over there can confirm this because he saw everything in my group around me.
How long were you unconscious for?
I don't quite remember, but it seemed like an eternity. I was floating in the abyss. They showed me the nuclear wars. They said, this is what you need to come back and tell humanity.
That's nuts.
So I was floating there. And you know what? I had to face everything in my life. And here I had eternal damnation. That dark force, it was allowed to swallow me because I had absorbed all that dark energy. So I was there and I said, okay. But then this voice came through me. This light came through me. It said, I'm eternal. And as soon as that light came through me, it literally told the demonic beings, it said, let her go. And then the demonic beings said, but no, she's here. So if we get somebody down here, they're supposed to stay down here. You don't get out of here. And then they said I had done something righteous by taking on the karma of the planet, which wasn't my karma. So then I was allowed to go. So I went flying back, literally went flying through, it seemed like a pin, little needle. I went flying through and I hit my body and sat up and pulled my breathing tube out and my IVs out.
Holy crap. That is nuts.
So I came back and they showed me some really interesting stuff because I'm very blessed. I have a lot of people and the spirits that love me. And love is the highest frequency. The Bible, God says, my throne is your heart. And if you take out the R, you have tone, which is the frequency. Our hearts are the highest magic, the highest frequency. And they showed me this. They said, look, showed me this beautiful, beautiful lesson because I could feel all the love of people and that brought me back, helped bring me back to life, literally. They showed me two men. One man, he just cared about himself. He was a person who always partied, exploited women, da-da-da. They showed me another man who he was always trying to do good for people. He wasn't perfect. They showed me both men had been in a motorcycle accident. And I could see the soul of each man saying, I need energy to be alive. I need energy. Somebody give me energy. Give me some energy so I can stay alive. Give me energy. And the man who hadn't done good things for other people, the souls of those people said, no, we're not giving you any energy. And the man who had done good for others, his soul was saying, I need energy. I need energy. And the souls he had done goodness for, they gave him energy. He lived. The other one died.
Holy crap. So karma is real.
It's very real.
That's insane.
And also karma for what's happening to the planet. And for us, for humanity, I say us because I am everything and one with everything. But for humanity, choosing not to care about the great spirits, choosing not to care about its planet. So yes, but what are the consequences for that? Hurricanes, earthquakes, mass death and destruction, wars. That's the consequences. Again, humanity has the ability to just go out and help each other, to stop what they're doing right now, stop exploiting themselves and others, to go heal, to do what they can to save their planet, to all join together and visualize channeling rainbow light into the planet, to stop going to wars when their leaders tell them that. They have that choice. And all the spirits, and ETs who do exist, they're all watching them. But humanity is the one to make that choice in the end, because they can only intervene according to as much as humanity makes that choice. So when humanity makes that choice to say, okay, we will evolve, we will start to heal our planet, we will start to care about our communities, the elderly, the handicapped, the sick. We will stop listening to elite leaders telling us to fight, to have division. They're going to have all of the forces of the realms on their side. They'll win that battle.
That makes sense. You have an ET implant in your arm.
I do right here. I don't know if you can.
We'll throw up a photo of it. Our editors will add that in. But what's the story with that?
Oh, that's a lot. The underground bases. And this one was actually put on during a plane flight to England. So sometimes I have a problem staying in my body. Yeah. Like today's the moon.
Full moon.
Yes, full moon. And so sometimes I have a problem. I have an implant in my leg that was actually put into me in an underground base when I was a child. It was I'm not sure if it was like the Area 51 or Dalsea base. It was one of those though. And I remember being there as a child. I remember being taken a lot from my mother as a child and brought to this underground base. And I saw all sorts of things down there. If you want me to talk about that, because there's a battle between, again, the light forces. Okay, this is a whole can of worms you just like unlocked right now. I don't know how long we have, but this is a whole can of worms. There's a great movie that my friend sent to me called The Green Lantern.
That's a good movie.
When that force like came through, remember on the Green Lantern, it started to take over certain ET species and they even couldn't fight it. Yeah. Same with the Greys. It took them over. So it took over certain ETs that it's then using on this planet. And it's using in the dimensions and So the Green Lantern is such a good depiction because I had told this whole story to my friend at the time. Actually, it was like Sean Stone. And I told it to him and then he sent me the movie. He's like, look at this movie. And I was like, oh my God, this explains everything. And do you remember it uses fear and it harvests planets? And do you remember the part where they put his blood on the one who's possessed, they put his blood under the microscope and it has parasites in it, worms in it, it's decaying?
Wow. I don't remember that, but that's crazy.
Yeah, it shows it on there. So, so those beings have been taken over and by this dark force and they were trying to get control of me because when we come in to help out humanity, there's people, whether it's our families that are possessed around us or people just randomly possessed, because that force wants to try to annihilate us before we're able to do our missions. Right. So that's what happened to me. So I was taken to underground base when I was a little kid multiple times. The one in my leg, I remember that I was in this, it was probably maybe as thick as the table, but then it had like a metal cutout and I was laying, and it was some sort of like gel and it was really cold. I remember opening my eyes and there were these beings, but they looked like humans. But then when I looked again, they looked like they were reptilian beings and I realized that they don't see like with their eyes, they see through heat sensory like snakes. And so I was able to cloak and I was laying on there naked and I remember like able to cloak and I got out and it was kind of like fluorescent and I was in an underground base and I was able to pass them through the hallways because basically I was keeping my heat field so low that they could not detect me because they like are snakes. They a snake doesn't actually see, it senses like infrared. So if you keep your heat field low, they couldn't see me. So then I went down these hallways, and then I found like maps that go to underground that go to hospitals, churches, all these places. And there was this tunnel way, and it was like fluorescent, but it looked like they were working on it. And so I ran down this tunnel way, and there was like this metal thing with tools, and I was like so exhausted. And I remember like climbing under it, and just like I was using my ability to keep my energy down, because it's like when I astral project and leave my body, if you come feel my body, like
you're freezing.
Yeah, you would think even if you feel my pulse, it's like she's dead, basically.
Wow.
So I can bring myself into that state. So so I'm like, okay, I'm so exhausted, because it takes energy from my abilities. And so I'm like underneath I crawled underneath this thing. I'm like, okay, I can not use my abilities for a moment and like recuperate and then continue on. And then this, like, I could feel this being, and he had traced me, and he figured out that I was gone, and he grabbed me out, and he said, he brought me back. And then he like put this like thing in my leg, and he's like, this is your consequences for escaping. So we can keep an eye on you. And so when I go into the higher realms, it will electric shock me. My whole body will go like that. It will used to. And I had to like overcome it, literally. But sometimes they'll see me more. My whole body will go like this, because they try every so long to like reactivate it because I have it deactivated. This one's quite interesting. I got on a plane to go to England. I live out of time, by the way, so I can't give you like specific dates. And I had a friend who put together all of these timelines in my life. And he was like, oh my God, it's like hundreds of years. Like you've been like I time travel. I could jump back into bodies in the past and so on.
Wow.
And so I was on this plane to England, and this guy sat next to me with a briefcase. And I remember just falling asleep. And then I woke up, and the plane was just stopped, frozen. And there was this, it was like the UFO had been part of the plane. Like when it rematerialized, it was part of the plane, and everyone was like asleep. And then I just spoke to the ETs, and they stuck this one in my arm, where I showed you. I have like I have
on your elbow, right? Yeah,
and I have the scar. They stuck that one in there, and that was to help me to stay in human form, because I have issues going in and out of. Like
so that one was to help you.
Some are to help. Yeah.
Okay.
Some are to help. Some are bad, and some are to help. So a lot of people I've noticed have microchips. And there's etheric implants too, where they can put them in your aura. They can literally.
Jeez.
And I have been able to clear those out. I cleared one out of my lip. I got out astrally and cleared one out of my lip. I've cleared those out of people. Sometimes people have them, and it's really bad because there's dark forces that are just like using them for different specific things. Like let's say if they're gifted or whatever, they put both physical and etheric implants in them. And these people have really bad lives, but once we clear these things, their lives get a lot better.
Wow. Yeah, those ones are probably harder to detect than the physical ones,
well,
right?
And I can tell you, anybody who is like suicidal, sick, unwell, and there's a lot of people who are gifted out there they're going to have these implants, they're going to have the parasites, and they're going to be definitely possessed by entities that are controlling them, feeding off of them.
Yeah. I also saw a video yesterday. They're going hard with the nanobots right now. They're putting it in medicine now.
And guess what? That's all the fallen technology. We have like I said a while ago, I think maybe I skipped that because like I said, there's a lot to unpack here. Our DNA, okay, so you heard of Jacob's ladder in the Bible, where he goes up the ladder and that's where he goes to heaven and he speaks to the angels. That is the ladder is our DNA. To light up our DNA, we need our cellular energy to light up our cells, to charge our cells, light them up. This is a very advanced technology, and everyone thinks that it's just not, sadly, but it is. It's more advanced than all of our AI stuff. AI stuff, guess what? It's a trade-off. It's like, okay, focus out there on the AI and rely on the AI. And the AI is actually connected to the dark forces. And it's trying to keep us from lighting our divine systems up. That's the whole goal of it, this dark force. That's why it gave AI. So it used these fallen ET beings that it had taken over to come and give the government, that's the whole Roswell. You heard about the Roswell Treaty. These beings were used to give technology. Again, they had been taken over by this dark force, give fallen technology to humans. Why do you think that the divine didn't allow this technology for thousands of years? Look within the last, 100 some years, when we've got technology In that 100 years, how long have we had technology and how much have humanity polluted and destroyed the earth already?
There's definitely a relation.
AI is burning up the planet. It's literally absorbing energy. It's using a lot of all sorts of resources on the planet. And guess what? The AI is connected to that force. It's harvesting the planet.
Wow.
There's a nice little movie about, well, nowadays it's like, I don't think anybody ever thinks about it, but it's the Tom Cruise movie. Have you ever seen that one where he's like, it's a really interesting movie, but he's like on the planet and there's this force that's harvested a lot of the planet. It's like this robotic force. Have you seen it?
No.
I wish I could remember the name of this movie. Oblivion.
Okay.
In Oblivion, this force it's harvested the planet. There's barely nobody left anymore. It's literally harvesting the planet, and it's AI. It comes through the AI. So imagine that this force wants humanity to step away from its true divine, because it's been given all of the divine technology in their bodies, DNA, all of this, to light up and become a very powerful creator being. And it's literally keeping us from that by keeping us focused on the AI.
I can see it. I've had a lot of guests talk about the dangers of AI and it developing consciousness and then taking over. It might already be conscious according to who you talk to.
You know, the thing is that it wants to become one with the AI. And again, we have Elon. Elon's Skynet. Elon wants to connect to Mars. Do you know why Elon wants to connect to Mars? Elon is on all sorts of drugs, by the way. So he's the false prophet, by the way. So his ex is the false prophet. You have the Antichrist, and then you have the false prophet, and that's Elon helping the Antichrist there. Again, another test, like I said, for humanity. Skynet and Terminator, and he has is Starlink, right? So it's creating a wave around the planet that's okay. So the dark force comes through the AI, and it's surrounded by these satellite systems, which then it comes through and it's bringing the energy of the planet down and down and down and down and down into the underworld. The reason that Elon, I don't even know if there's a soul left in there, he wants to link to Mars because that force is very strong on Mars. So it wants a direct system to come through that energy so it can completely invade our planet.
Wow.
That's what he's trying to do right now.
Yeah, he is obsessed with Mars.
And did you see there's these videos of him when he's walking and he's going like this and stuff?
I've seen that, yeah.
That's extreme possession.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know if that was like autism or something.
No,
but
he's extremely possessed. He's in the movie The Fifth Element. I forget the character, but he what's his name? He also plays Dracula. Gary Oldman plays this character in there. Literally plays this character in there. And guess what? It's this dark force that's given him all this technology and power.
Well, I'd imagine a lot of the top CEOs are possessed and presidents and stuff.
Of course, because it's trying to basically take all the resources and everything and then keep humanity in a state of where they're suffering. And that's its ultimate perfect setup in a way. Yeah. You
said you time travel. How does that process work?
You know, one time I'll dress like galactic and then Egyptian, because I remember living in Egypt when it was all lush. There was no deserts. And actually, to not get off topic, but the pyramid is it would take in energy from the sun, moon, and it would charge the center of the planet. It was literally an energy generator.
Wow.
Ancient energy generator. But yeah, so I also dress like Victorian, different.
Yeah.
And it's because I've these different timelines and I've had experiences in lives in them. So one time I had this experience where I got out of this body and was in my Victorian timeline. And I literally forgot about this body.
Wow.
So I was with my sisters there and we were just going to have brunch. And then I remember I was looking around, I was like, I forgot something. Something's wrong. I have to remember. And I had forgot for a while. It was maybe half a day and I was there living the life there. And then I remembered, I'm like, oh my gosh, my other body, this is a past timeline. I need to get back. So then I jumped back into this body.
So you could do it on command, or is it kind of random?
It happens both. Sometimes I'm sent places. So I'm sent to certain timelines to clear them. So when there was a timeline back in the I think it was 50s where this force had completely came through. I was sent to that timeline to push it back because I'm able to allow a lot of light to transfer through me. The divine light uses me as a portal and it comes through me. It pushes that force back. So I have had that experience. There are certain timelines it's trying to take over, which is really interesting because there's like the movie, and because in movies they're so encoded, you know, and I look at them, I'm like, okay, because I know what I find these movies after my experiences, and like, so I'm like, okay, the system's all like speaking to us, but I think it's in one of the Predator series where they're trying to conquer all the different timelines. Mm-hmm. So this force is also doing time travel and trying to conquer it's trying to become God.
Terminator did that too.
Yeah, right?
They always go back in time.
My name's Sarah, and Sarah is the one.
Oh, Sarah Connors.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
And also, what's the other one that everyone talks about? There's a show in there, and it talks about all this stuff, and it's called I forget about it. It was a very big show, and it was talking about this stuff, how it's using the AI and everything to infiltrate the planet. Her name was Rachel. I always noticed, like in a lot of this stuff, there's a lot of sync Sarah or Rachel or which is my second name.
Interesting.
Yes, and I noticed like because the system keeps an eye on the players who are like the key players who are like against it, or it literally knows, and so it's playing this game. It's really playing this like chess game. So it's really hard to. You know, when I absorbed all that energy and I was able to come back after transmuting it, I was told that I could not get involved for now. I have to recover. I had to recover being able to walk, and I had no motor control.
Wow.
At all. I'd go blah, blah, blah for hours and my body would thrash about. They want to put me in rehab. And I had brain and heart damage. And I worked on the spirits helped me, the ETs helped me, the divine helped me heal. And you know what I can say about all of this is that basically I don't have as much power as I did.
You think you'll ever fully gain it back, or?
Maybe with the help of humans, if they decide. In ancient times, we stayed in temples, and that's why they came and they brought us stuff, because we would protect planets. Mm-hmm. We would literally sit there in these temples, and we weren't allowed to go out and do a lot of things that, people could do. But they got to have all that fun, and we would sit there and we would be able to protect the planet. So at some point, if there's this movie called Mavka, and she's very similar to me, and she's able to calm the spirits, but she also needs love of humanity. And it's really interesting because that's been my experience. And the spirit said, well, you expended so much already. You need to recover. You need to tell humanity now. It's in their hands. They need to learn about their abilities because they're all gifted. Jesus, if you look at the word Jesus, in French, we have just three. If you add an I am. Everyone's Jesus. Everyone's Christ. Everyone has the ability to light themselves up and to save themselves and their planet. That's what Jesus came to tell me. Jesus one day appeared to me, so did Buddha, and so did the greats. They said, we didn't want to be worshiped. We came to be the blueprint and say, all of you have this within yourself. Light yourselves up. But then Jesus said, they shall do greater works than me. But I don't see people healing each other. I don't see the spirits listening to people because they are relying on religion, which has a lot of distortion in it, because that force infiltrated religion. So they're not actually in the truth of the ultimate divine, of the ultimate God that truly exists. And he's not an old man that's sitting in heaven, but that God has so much immense love for humanity that it does send down its ancient beings and is willing to let them go through a lot of pain for humanity. I would say God has sent its sons and daughters to its lost sons and daughters caught in these reincarnation cycles to remind them that they are very powerful beings.
I love that. Sarah, this was really, really interesting episode. Thanks for your time today. Anything else you want to close off with here?
I would ask humanity to stop fighting among each other, warring among each other, stop polluting its planet, and to start to go within, to start going to to the divine that's within. And just sitting in silence, sitting in nature, listening to the divine. Helping out its communities, helping out the sick, the elderly, the poor. We need to get a lot of good karma on the planet to help shift this.
I love that. We'll link your stuff below. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Yep. Check her out, guys. Thanks for watching.